Hey, it's great to be with you again today. One of my favorite stories in the New Testament, Jesus is talking to the disciples, and a leader in the law comes up and says to him, "What do I have to do to have eternal life?" And Jesus goes, "What's the law say?" And the guy says, "Well, you're supposed to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus says, "You've answered right. Good job." But this guy, who's an expert in the law, right, says, "I think I need to justify myself." "Well, who's my neighbor?" "Jesus, who's my neighbor?" And Jesus looks at him, he tells a parable. He says, there was a man who was going up from Jericho to Jerusalem, and on the way, he gets attacked by robbers. They beat him half to death, strip him of his clothes, and leave him laying on the side of the road. And a little while later, a priest on his way to the temple passes by, and he sees the guy laying there, and he goes over on the other side of the road and goes back on his way. A little while later, a Levite, who is one of the guys that works in the temple, and he sees the guy, and he looks at him, and he goes on the other side of the road and walks on by. And then a little while later, a Samaritan comes by. And this Samaritan, the Jews and the Samaritans, they don't get along at all. As a matter of fact, they hate each other. And the Samaritan sees this Jewish man laying on the ground, and he goes over to him and he pours oil and wine on his wounds, tends to him, puts him on his own donkey, walks him back into town, puts him in an inn, and then he gives the innkeeper 2 silver coins and says, "I want you to take care of him. And if this doesn't pay for everything, when I come back, I'll give you more." And Jesus looked at that expert in the law and he said, "Now who was that man's neighbor?" And the expert in the law said, "Well, the man who helped him." And Jesus said, "You're correct. Go and do likewise." Now, the Jews and the Samaritans didn't get along at all. They despised each other. And you would have thought that in this story that the religious leaders, the priest and the Levite, would have been the guys that jumped in and helped. But they had other things going on. You know, they were trying to get to where they were going, whether they're going to the temple to do the rites that they need to do the whole teaching